Hello, everyone. Let's get right into it. This is you, and this is your version of you as of today, right? You are Mr. 1.0. Let's just make that you. Let's call you David. David is an employee, right? Among other employees, there are other people in with different versions, right? Some managers, um, different versions of their identity journey. Now, David is in corporate, and he's making about 40 to $45 an hour. There are colleagues there that are making 20 to $25 an hour. Some are making 60 to $90. Um, for whatever reason, right? Whether it's the value of, like, if this is how they are marketed, right? If this is how, if this might be how their identity appears, and the market is giving value to particular skills that they have, depending on who they are, right? Now, the beautiful thing about this is all of them think they're just coming into work, right? And it's simply because they have this skill that they're making this amount of money. David making 40, his colleagues making different, his manager making slightly higher. But what they don't see is that each of them is exerting a field on the fabric of reality. Each of them is exerting a field on the fabric of reality. David over here, let me withdraw him as our identity circle. David is exerting a certain field, right? Bending a certain field of reality. And it could be on the plane of the market. And the market is assigning him a certain level of compensation. And then his colleagues each have their own depression upon which they're pushing. And of course, reality is pushing back. If reality pushes back further, right, they make less. If they are able to push deeper, they make more. And so they think they're okay. They are just looking into their own bubble. They're kind of stuck, right? And just in their own world. Well, the thing is, and they're okay, as long as they're okay with where they are, right? And they're willing to continue to progress and become better and become more valuable, they're sufficient. I wouldn't advise being content. And I think that's what a lot of people do, right? They're like, okay, I like everything. I like how things never be content, right? Never be content to be the exact same. Be content with what you have, but don't be content with who you are. Always desire to be a better version. There is room for growth. There is room for improvement. So this should be our hunger. Our hunger should not be for more stuff. No, our hunger should be to for more version of who we are, more identity expansion. Now here's the kicker, right? At this level, he is making maybe $40. Maybe his manager is making about 60 to $80, let's say, right? We can even lower this down a bit, right? To maybe $30. And his manager is making about 60, 80, right? Maybe there's a director around here that's kind of overseeing a bunch of managers, right? So let's say his direct report and a couple of other, and let's say this leader, this director or VP, right, in the chain of command is commanding something like 120, maybe 250 per hour, right, in the chain of corporates, of course. So all of these guys, and let's say he's reporting to somebody who's a VP. Um, um, let's say this director is actually responding directly to the CTO, right? Or COO or some C suite, right? This is the C suite. And depending on the org, maybe this C suite person is doing 400 to 500 per hour. And that's their compensation. All right. And then there's the CEO, right? The CEO is pretty lucky. The CEO is a good guy. He is. We're not even going to talk about the CEO. So um, the cool thing about this is Each of these people are in their space, but they're pushing on reality, and and reality is saying this is the value we're assigning to you. This is the market is saying, the office is saying, the building, the org is saying, because of these skills you own, this is how much we're gonna give you, right? And there's a tendency to say, let me just keep upgrading my skills to earn more. No, you can do that, but the more sustainable thing is to continue to become a better person, improve who you are, um, independent of your skills, right? This is why the manager and the director will continue to make significantly more, the CEO even more, because because of who they are, right? And their ability to influence down the chain, right? To get David to perform in a certain way. And and when you start to see things differently, you start to realize, um, who am I in any of these stages, right? And there's another thing, right? There is the idea of, the CEO or the founder, and this guy is exerting a field, right, on all of these guys. The founder, the CEO is exerting a field on all of these guys. And we don't even want to talk about his compensation, because sometimes CEOs' compensations are outrageous. So from our perspective, it's like, why? Uh, because because reality is not favoring uh, people who have the lowest impact on reality. It favors the people who have the most impact. See, for him, let's start with David. For David, sorry, David out there. For David, this is, I hope I'm saying this clearly. I'm trying to articulate this as best as I can. For David, this is the tiny depression he is pushing on reality. This is his plane, right? For the CEO, this is his plane. He is pushing back, and reality is saying, you should be getting paid 1K per hour, 2K, 2K per hour, right? That's reality pushing back because of his ability to influence across the organization, across the company, across a mission, right? So people get paid according to the level of impact they can have. And the way you can have impact is to improve yourself. It is a race for who. Some people have a better chance, not a better chance. Some people have a leg up in the race, absolutely. So that's why you have to focus on being a better version of you in your plane. Maybe David is working in a pharmaceutical company, right? But the reality is his identity, his interest, who he is best suited for some kind of technological space, some kind of entertainment space, right? And not just because it's maybe he feels it's easier. No, this feels more like a calling. This is a deep part of him, right? But because he feels very safe by that number, and because he's got bills to pay, right? He can't take the leap to do a venture on his own, right? But the big mistake is saying, this is what I'm doing, and I'm comfortable, right? And because I feel comfortable, I'm able to address my bills, I'm being survival mode. I shouldn't start branching out. I shouldn't work on myself for the things that matter to me. And so he exchanges his time for money to do the work of what the CEO wants, of what the team, of what the organization desires, right? And so the CEO's impact is his ability to get everyone on this chain to produce, and there's many David times 100, 500, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, million, it doesn't matter, right? The CEO's ability to get all of these people in their proper ranking, to fine tune them. Fine tune is a very strong word, let's say, to align them to the purposes of his mission allows him, because of his great influence, allows him to have a sizable impact on reality. And if he can get this done, it doesn't matter whether his compensation is $25 million, $25 million in a single year, whereas David has earned in a single year maybe something like 50K, right? It doesn't matter, right? Because the market will reward the person that can have an impact, right? Um, the, the problem with playing this game, so here's my analysis of this. There's nothing wrong with doing this, right? In fact, everyone should start here, right? The problem with doing this is, number one, for David, so such a guy as David, is he in the right place? If he's not in the right place, he needs to make a plan to shift or migrate to the right place. And if he is in the right place, how can he progressively become a better individual so that he produces value? That is the goal, right? And it's not to make anyone feel like I'm not in this level, right? I'm not a manager, right? And so it's not to make anyone feel like what they earn is inferior, right? And that's what a lot of people do. They play the comparison game. He doesn't deserve this. 25 million? He doesn't deserve this. It's unfair until you are there and you can carry the weight of that. Like, I feel bad because so reality is not always accurate, because reality is just following it's not reality is not conscious, okay? This is super important to clarify. Reality is not conscious. A lot of people say it is, but it's not. I don't know who does, so I don't know that actually a lot of people say it. But I do know people say, we are the consciousness. We are the eyes through which the universe can peer at itself and blah, blah, blah. Whatever. Reality is not conscious. It doesn't know whether this is a human, a cat, or an AI. All it knows is somebody is performing this task. And this is a spiritual principle. They are able to influence and make impact in their realm. And because of the magnitude of their impact, reality is being morphed, right? So that these people fall into his or her gravitational pull on reality, and reality pushes back with, here's your value for doing this, right? You know what you're doing, here you go, right? And sometimes, honestly, a buffoon can be in here, right? Let's say the board just needs a puppet and they just need, or a king or whatever. This can be a kingdom. It doesn't matter, right? But a buffoon can be here. But because they are carrying the power that is influencing, right, across dimensions, right, influencing reality in a way that's pulling things, right? This individual gets compensated. They are rewarded for how they interact with the fabric of reality, right? The truth is, though, phonies don't last. Weak people don't last. People without principles don't last. People that are full of fluff will only last for a short time, because reality will test the integrity of their identity. And they must uphold their identity, the contours of their identity, to sustain the field. And this could mean they can't just be stagnant. They need to continue to update themselves. Otherwise, the pressures of changing innovation and time, and the times and the phases of life, the phases of an organization, will have them get pushed out. This is why adaptability and flexibility are powerful things. This is why a lot of people start as founders and then they make crappy CEOs, right? Because the work of a CEO requires a different set of skills. This is why Mark Zuckerberg is pretty impressive. You might have your different feelings about the guy, but he's a very good example because he was a founder. He's a founder for Facebook, now Meta, right? And he transitioned into a CEO, learned everything on the job. He wasn't a CEO before, right? Whereas some people stopped being CEOs, right? They're for whatever reason, or the board tried to take them out or successfully extricated them because reality is saying you're not you're not who you need to be for this role. And a lot of people, and it's perfectly fine. A lot of people say, yeah, this is not who I am. I don't want to be a CEO. I'm okay founding things. I'm okay mentoring people. I'm okay investing and I want to grow in this area. And some people love the thrill of running the game, right? Ruling, directing, right? And they get compensated for that. So, so you might ask, well, what about David? What about his colleagues? There are I know I always simplify things, but let's keep it simple. There are two things they can do, right? They can 100%, David and his colleagues can 100% continue upskilling in their particular domain, the domain that they've been assigned to perform for the CEO and whoever is exerting a field on the CEO, the board, investors, blah, 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 right? And that's fine. And they should, especially if there are external factors like bills to pay, responsibilities, children, raising a family, right? All of these things, they are exerting a field that is directed by the CEO. But what they should be doing is in their free time, you and I should be working on ourselves, improving ourselves, right? And just exploring, being curious, continue to chart a course in the right direction. The result, I know I said two things, but the result is that David, his colleagues, um, can continue, can eventually branch out and become their own CEO, founder, right? In the thing that matters to who they are becoming, right? By exploring things outside, they may discover by sheer serendipity, right, the direction as their identity expand. As their identity expand, they have a better vantage point to explore different directions, right? And from there, at some point, right, the field they're exerting beyond what this course they are connected with, this sphere of influence that they found themselves in, regardless of that, they can start exerting a field in a particular domain of reality that they like. And reality can start telling them, okay, I see what you're doing here. This is unique. The market might respond and say, you get $50 per hour, of course, however it is calculated or tabulated across per unit time, right? And at some point, David has a choice. Should I continue, or should I take all of my time and continue to improve myself and focus on this particular impact? And that's the game. That is the game, right? The game is to improve yourself so that you make an impact, right? And it's okay if you're in someone else's orbit. The CEO has this, or the organizational leaders have this influence that is bending the fabric of reality, occupationally speaking, of course. And you have entered into their orbit, and you are part of the bodies that manifested in their reality to ensure that they get their mission accomplished while compensating you. You should not, for that reason, disregard who you are, unless you're aligned with that mission and that's part of your identity. But if part of your identity is saying, I need to be elsewhere, I need to be doing something else, then you have every right to do so. If you're more, this is why people change jobs. This is why people move across different industries. It's because of who. It's because maybe at some point they're growing and they find out that their identity aligns better with a different set of missions, and that is perfectly fine. So I hope this has been helpful to you all. Um, I love thinking about things in different ways, and this is so cool because it helps me chart a course. I need to know what to focus on, and identity expansion is one of those. So like, subscribe, of course, if you find this valuable, and thank you if you've watched to this point. I will always be grateful for every viewer that stops by this video and watches it to the end. So take care, okay? I'll see you in the next video.